How quick are Dodge Vipers? Well, to find out, I've got a Gen 1, which was introduced in 1992. A Gen 2, they launched that in 1996. Here's the Gen 3. This one came in 2003. And then there's the Generation 4. That was introduced in 2008. And here's the very final one, the Mark 5. And this was introduced in 2013. I'm going to launch them because I'm Matt Watson and you're watching Carwow. And hopefully none of these will try and kill me. Buy, sell,
Carwow.
Let's see which generation of Dodge Viper sounds the best. I'm going to start with a Gen 1, so rev it up. Nice. Now let's move on to the second generation. Go on, rev it up. You've moved the location of the exhaust. Now let's go for the third generation of Viper. Rev it up. Oh, liking those pops and bangs. Here we go then. Gen 4. Oh, that's nuts. And last but by no means least, the fifth generation. Go on. Oh my God, it's so hard to choose. They all sound completely awesome. This is Edgar. Edgar owns the Mark 1, the very original Dodge Viper. And what we're going to do here, rather than me talk you through about the car and tell you all its features and why it's so good, I thought we'd let the owner do it. So, the way we're going to play this, Edgar, is I'm going to give you 1 minute to summarise your car and say why you think it is the best generation of Dodge Viper. Your time starts now.
Look at it, it's red, it has no windows, it has no roof. It's the purest of the Vipers.
It's the OG, right?
It is. It's designed by Carl Shelby. It was a replacement for the Shelby Cobra. And then after that, they added a lot of ABS and brakes and windows, made it heavier, and then changed it to a different car.
How much do you pay for this? Is this the least expensive?
It's definitely least expensive and the most fun for the buck.
Okay, so how much did you pay?
About $40,000.
$40,000 for this car, and how many miles?
It has about 80,000 miles. 80,000 hard-driven fun miles.
So what's a unique feature on this car?
It has fluid in the headlights. So when Chrysler was making this car, BMW was actually manufacturing these lights for the Z1 before they were made, but Chrysler ended up taking the headlights and putting on the Viper.
Why does it have liquid in the headlight?
So you could point it the right direction.
Ah, for leveling.
Yes.
And what is your favorite feature on this car?
The fact that it has no windows and no roof, and it has no computer aids to help you in any way.
That's enough, that's it. You're done, mate. You're done. Right, do you know what I'm going to do now, Edgar?
What are you going to do?
I'm going to launch your car to see how quick it is from 0 to 60 miles an hour. Let's do it. This first generation Viper has an 8-litre naturally aspirated V10. It puts out 406 horsepower and 626 newton meters of torque, driving the rear wheels only via a 6-speed manual gearbox. It weighs in at 1,490 kilos and it's supposed to do 0 to 60 in 4.6 seconds. But will it? I'm going to find out by timing it with my specialist timing gear down here. Let's give it a go. We're flying! 5.47 seconds. 0.8 of a second slower than claimed. I wonder if it was measured with foot rollout, the original time. I bet it was. I bet it was. We don't use foot rollout. It's cheating. Attempt number 2. Bit of wheel spin. The glove box flew open again. Hens crap everywhere. Way a bit quicker that time. 5.36. Look at the glove box. Oh, that was fun. Okay, I am going to give it one more go because I'm steadily getting quicker. Yes! Yes! Broke 5 seconds. 4.93. I'm taking that. It's quite interesting driving this first generation Viper. First thing that you notice is the location of the exhaust. You just hear it in your ear hole, which is quite nice. But it doesn't sound amazing. When you think of V10s, you think of things like the Lamborghini Gallardo, the Huracan. the R8. Doesn't sound anything like that. It really does sound like a truck engine. Throttle response is pretty good. Obviously naturally aspirated, picks up nicely, decent amount of torque as well. One thing that I'm really liking though, the gearbox is lovely. It's not the shortest throw, but it's got a nice mechanical feel to it. It's very easy to get the right ratio. I don't think you'll misshift this unless you're a complete nutter moron, just because how it's laid out just works. You're less likely to go from second into first when you think you're going into third. I like that about it, and it gave me some confidence when launching it. The seats are quite firm on your bottom, but the side, the bolsters are all squidgy, like an armchair. Overall, they're comfortable. And the suspension seems to do all right with bumps. Doesn't feel like dead sophisticated, but it feels like an old car suspension, but it's not horrible. One thing that I thought would be horrible that aren't are the brakes. So no ABS, I'm a little bit like nervous with that, but they really do have a good feel to them. And the pedal, it's very firm, like a racing car. So you can really feel the amount of braking performance you've got, and you can really sense when the front tyres start to lock up. And you know what? I'm not really going to explore the handling because all the roads around here are just dead straight. But for just cruising around in America, enjoying the sunshine here in California, sat in this classic car with its old school feel, lovely little sporty steering wheel, totally pure driving experience. It is an absolute thrill. I'm really enjoying it. And I'm enjoying it without having to go bonkers crazy fast, like I would feel like I'd have to do to really enjoy a modern performance car. Oh look, here comes a corner. It's going round, although so too is the Prius. That is our trucking car just driving ahead. I like this, I like it a lot. It's got a charm to it. One thing that is a bit odd is the throttle. So it almost has like two stages to it. There's like a full stop to the throttle where you think, you know, that's basically all the acceleration you're gonna have. But to get the full performance out of the engine, you really have to mash the throttle right into the floor. And it's almost like it unlocks an extra 5 cylinders. Like you're just running on the 5 to begin with, and then when you're planted completely, that's when it really starts to go. It's odd. It means that the throttle isn't quite as progressive as I'd like. And when you do open it up, still sounds like a truck. This is Kirk. Kirk owns the Gen 2 Dodge Viper. Now Kirk, I'd like you to explain everything about the Generation 2 model and why you think it's the best version of the Viper in 1 minute.
Well, get the timer started.
You ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
It's definitely the best. It's the archetypal front engine rear drive American sports car. All manual, all analog, no analog brakes, no traction control, 6-speed manual transmission with 3 pedals. Handles fine, makes great noises. The looks, you just don't find cars like this anymore.
So looks wise, I actually prefer the look of this than the Gen 1. It looks amazing.
Same here. I like it better than all of them. From the looks, really, it's the, I mean, my generation, right? It's the PlayStation Gran Turismo car.
Yeah.
And so that just the look, it's the cleanest. If I had the wallet for the Gen 5, okay. But yeah, it's the cleanest, prettiest. It's got the curves.
How much was it?
I got a good deal on it when I bought it. It was $49,500. It's gone up probably close to double that, depending on the market.
Another question I've got about it, the engine in it, it's from a truck, right? But isn't it fettled by Lamborghini or something?
Yeah, no, it's quite different from the truck engine. It's an aluminum block, and they made a lot of changes. Chrysler contracted with Lamborghini because they owned them at the time to do the casting and a lot of the engineering work on the engine.
Okay, nice. That is your minute up right now, Kirk. And now I'm going to launch your car and see how quick it is.
Good luck.
Let's do it. Now I'm in the Gen 2 Dodge Viper. It also has an 8-litre naturally aspirated V10, but because this is the ACR version, it has 460 horsepower and 660 newton meters of torque. It drives the rear wheels by a 6-speed manual gearbox, and it weighs in at 1,530 kilos. It's supposed to do 0 to 60 in 4.2 seconds. Now, I'll push the seat all the way forward, and I'm struggling to like depress the clutch all the way, and I need to be able to do that because the bite is right at the bottom of the clutch. Thankfully, unlike the Mark 1, I can adjust the pedals. So I'll just adjust those and bring them closer for my shorty legs, and then we'll get on with it. Wow, this goes. Blimey. I think that hooked up pretty well, and it felt quick. Time though, 4.91. About the same as the final run in the Mark 1. I think it needs another go. Come on. Slower. In fact, the exact same speed as I got at the Mark 1. What is going on? I'm going to do one more go. Spinning. It's getting slower. That's it, it's done. Best was the first one, 4.91. It's quite interesting jumping into this second generation Viper after the first one. First thing I'm noticing is that exhaust sound. It's way more noticeable on this. Sounds better. It might be because it's got a roof on this car, and so it just reverberates around the cabin a bit more. Whereas in the Gen 1, obviously no roof, you're getting a lot of wind noise which drowns out other sounds. This one seems to go over bumps a lot better than the Mark 1. Not that that was terrible, however there is a reason for that. This particular car is fitted with KW suspension, which is way better damped than the standard suspension from the factory. This ACR would have been untuned suspension over the standard car, but it wouldn't be as good as the KWs on this. Gear shift is really nice yet again, even better than on the Mark 1. What's not as good are the seats. Now they're slightly softer where your bum goes, but they're just a little bit too loose at the sides. They don't hold you so firmly in place. They're more like armchairs, and you kind of like rattle around in them a little bit. Even though the interior design is pretty much the same, it does feel more modern. Maybe it's the steering wheel, and just this whole area here is just a little bit more normal. Once again, no brakes, no ABS, but the pedal feel is good, so you do have plenty of control and feel. And especially on a day like this, got big sticky tires, very unlikely to lock up. I mean, I can do a really good stop in this like that and just control it, like he says as he goes slightly sideways. Let's try again. No, God, I love ABS. I'm going to change it. I absolutely love ABS. There is lots of feel through the pedal until until you lock up, and then there's not. God, ABS, what an invention. How many more crashes would there have been on the roads if someone hadn't invented ABS? Something we take completely for granted today. And that's in the dry. One thing I was noticing in here is some rattling interior trim, but I think I've located it. That's one of the great things about convertibles. You just can't hear those noises because of the noise from the wind. And I think for cruising around in America, previous generation car, it's more my thing. Though of course you could have this as a convertible, so I think that would be the one to go for from my personal point of view. Now we come to the third generation of Dodge Viper, and this one is owned by Jason here. Now Jason, what I want you to do is tell me everything about this version of the Viper in just 1 minute. So I'm going to start the clock now. Tell me about your car.
So it's a 2005 Copperhead edition. They only made 300 of them, and that's the color. On the interior you have the orange stitching.
Looks special, doesn't it? And there's something else about it. Was this the only one to have convertible roof, a proper one?
Oh yeah, the Gen 3 is the only one to have an actual rag top. The rest of them are open top or hard top, and then it moved into the coupe again once they got into the later generations.
So how much did you pay for this, and how much is it worth now?
So I got a crazy deal on it. I paid $49 at peak market last year, probably close to 60 now.
And why did you go for the convertible rather than the coupe?
So that's a fun story, actually. When I was a kid, my dream car was the Viper. I bought this little toy Viper when I was with my family. And then later on, they introduced the 1999 GTSR concept, which later became this body style. And I actually drew my own version as a convertible, and then it came out. So I was like, that's it. That's the one I got.
And your time is up! Oh, no, you got your story out. That is fine. And what I'm going to do now, Jason, I'm going to launch your car.
You're going to what?
Launch it.
You're going to launch it?
I'm going to launch it.
All right.
Let's do it. Now we come to the third generation of Viper, and it has an 8.3 litre naturally aspirated V10 with 505 horsepower and 710 newton meters of torque. Once again, driving the rear wheels only via a 6-speed manual gearbox with no driver's aids at all. It weighs in at 1,550 kilos, and it's supposed to do 0 to 60 miles an hour in 3.8 seconds. I'm doubting that in my hands, but let's see what we can do. Here we go. It's a spinner. That'll have been rubbish. What is it? With 4.93 seconds. What is that? What is that, like the number that all Vipers do? 4.93. Well, that's over 1 second slower than claimed, but there was a lot of wheel spinach. Got to go again. Come on, good gear change now. Not much quicker. 4.84. It's a whole second slower than claimed. Where am I going to find a second from? I just don't know. One more go. Right, what I'm going to try and do is split the difference between the wheel spin of the first run and the low revs of the second. So here we go. Might be it, might be it. That's it. 4.77. At least it's just less than a second slower than what it's supposed to do. I don't know whether they launched this car when they were timing it for the marketing material, you know, on a prep surface, or I don't know, or maybe they just had a more skilled racing driver doing it. But I don't know where a second is coming from. I tell you what, it's nice to be back into a convertible. It really suits the car. And this was the first Dodge Viper to have a proper convertible roof, which you could easily put back up again if it starts to rain. In terms of the driving experience, just on the straight, it feels very, very similar. Doesn't go over bumps quite as well as the Gen 2, but that's because that had improved suspension. But it's noticeably better than the Gen 1 car. The seats are a lot better than the Gen 2, very much like the Gen 1, but with more padding under the bottom. So perfect. I love the seats actually. Very comfy. The driving position is spot on. So too is the gear shift. It's not the shortest shift, but it's a nice chunky gear change. Not snickety, just chunky, mechanical, in keeping with an 8.3 litre V10. I really like it. Sounds good as well, this car. Not quite as good as the Gen 2, but that's because that car had a load of mods to the exhaust. This one has just had a rear muffler delete. It sounds lovely. Not high-pitched, not sing-songy in the same way that a European V10 is, but raucous, raw American power. Brakes again, no ABS, so I'm not going to be messing around, testing those out too much. It feels more assisted though on this car than the previous 2 generation versions, and I don't like the feel quite as much as a result, which means it doesn't feel quite so linear. When you think this has got the same horsepower as a BMW M3, doesn't feel anything like it. The same horsepower and similar weight to a Porsche 911 GT3, and that feels way quicker when you rev it out. Funny, isn't it? Maybe some horses have left the stable, or maybe some of the horses that were supposed to be there weren't actually there in the first place. I do think that Porsche horsepower is different to Dodge horsepower. So too is Porsche price though. I can totally see why you would enjoy owning one of these cars, because they all so far have a sense of occasion to them. And they're old, you know. Though to be fair, my old Porsche 911 996 does feel sharper, and it's old as well. Feels faster as well, even though it's actually less powerful. But there is something nice about these. The big long bonnet stretched out ahead of you, that V10 rumble, the fact that it's all on you, get it wrong, and there's no driver's aids to help you out. Although I'm not necessarily sure that's a good thing if the road's a bit damp, because I think these things could be rather scary. In the dry though, as long as you're not going too crazy, it's fine. Oh yeah, that sounds so good. Oh, no fake pops and bangs. That's proper popping on the overrun. Oh, that's lovely. Oh my God, loving that noise. Absolutely loving it. It's funny actually how the noise can make up for other deficiencies in a car such as this, and that's going to be one of the problems with electric cars, is that you just lose that extra dimension of interaction with the car. I suppose it only really matters for performance cars, you know. No one's going on about how great their Hyundai i30 normal 1 point whatever it is sounds like. Now we have the 4th generation of Dodge Viper, and here's its owner, it's Kevin.
Yep.
So Kevin, I want you to tell me what in particular is special about the Gen 4 and your car exactly. And I'm only going to give you a minute to do that. So I'm going to,
okay. Here we go.
I'm going to start the timer.
Speed run.
Now.
Okay, so what I think the 4th gen make does better than anything else, and what makes it more special as a car, is that it was sold right next to the ACR-X. which had the same aero package, similar shocks, same wing, but a fully caged race car. None of the other Vipers had that, and I think that made it a little more raw, and it's closest to a real race car on the street. Of course, it's the most recent Viper with proper aero and no stability control, no traction control. It's not like the 5th gen, so it takes a little more, you know, courage to drive it fast. This particular car is special because I raced it in 2021 for Torco Oil, and we raced it in NASA TT, and we were undefeated, and the car never missed a beat, and I fell in love with it, and I told them, if you ever sell it, you will let me know. 2 years later, which is 2 months ago, they said, hey, Kevin, it's all yours if you want it, and I was able to make it work, and I bought it, and now I'm absolutely in love.
And quickly then, how much was it?
Quick, you got... It was $100,000 about.
That's it?
Yes. Don't put me on the spot for that.
You're in trouble.
$60,000 car.
Oh, it's worth 160 now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, well, that's some profit in that. Anyway, I'm going to launch your $160,000 car, if you don't mind.
Oh, absolutely. You know what? This car deserves to be driven hard. So you better do not take it easy. Okay? Look at me. Don't take it easy.
Now for the Gen 4, and we are stepping up a level. So we've got an 8.4 litre naturally aspirated V10, but in this particular car, it puts out 610 horsepower and 760 newton meters of torque. Once again, driving the rear wheels via a 6-speed manual gearbox. No launch control, no traction control, but there is ABS this time. However, that's not going to help me on the launch. What's interesting is that even though this car weighs the same as the last one, 1,550 kilos, and has 100 more horsepower, the 0 to 60 is still 3.8 seconds. Anyway, see what happens. It's just going sideways then. 5.27, that was rubbish. Let's just see if it will actually do 60 in first. I'm going to build it up, not go too fast. Yes, it will. It will absolutely do 60 in first. Don't need to change gear, need to be more gentle on the throttle, try and launch it smoother, and we could be all right. So less revs, I reckon, just pull away steadily without stalling. Here we go. 4.8. A second slower than it's supposed to do. That might do it. Yeah, 4.5, that's the best I can do. But is it the best this car can do today in these conditions on this road? Well, do you know what? I'm going to let the owner drive it because he's a racing driver. Let's see what time he can do. Maybe he'll be willing to be a bit more brutal because it is his car. We'll give him one go. One go. So you're going to launch it. You've got one shot.
One shot?
Just one, come on. Dude, you're a pro driver. This is your car.
It is, yes.
One shot. I know what time I did. I'm not going to tell you.
Don't know.
No, you don't know. Come on.
Okay, all right.
We're going to see what you can do. One shot, drive it up there, hit 60, come back down, and I'm going to check your time.
Okay, all right, let's do it one time.
No pressure.
No pressure. I got this, it's okay. Here we go. That was terrible. That was awful.
Now, I'm wondering if he managed to do it. I think he might have spun the wheels a bit too much there. It might have read well over 60 very soon on his speedo because his wheels were spinning, but on the actual GPS, I'm not so sure. It's coming back. Let's find out.
There was, I went for longest burnout. There's no way that was faster than you.
You went for the longest burnout.
I launched it, I sidestepped it, but it just could not put the power down.
Yeah.
And I couldn't lift, so I just committed.
Welcome to having a Viper. So the time that you got, 0 to 60, 4.83 seconds. 4.83.
With a 60-foot burnout?
I think it was
60,
all done with the rear wheel spinning. So the time I did,
all right,
4.5 seconds.
Oh!
No worries.
It's almost like you do this for a living.
Thanks for letting me have a go, Matt.
It's your car. Thanks for letting me have a go.
You know what I mean. All right.
Do you know what? Now Kev has warmed the tyres for me, I'm going to give it one more go. What we got? What we got? Yes! Slightly better. 4.48. Not a huge difference. Here we go. Mark 4. It feels like it's got more performance. It really does. There's also something about it. The noise is just a bit more race car-like. The brakes feel better than in the Mark 3. Just like in that car, they have some assistance, and you've got ABS, which is good to know. But the feel of these is just better. Better. How British is that? Better. Also, this car gets KW suspension from factory, and it really does feel sharper and more responsive to steering inputs. I definitely feel like I'm driving something a lot more special. Game has moved on here, it really has. I like to comment about the seats. These seats are all round good. Sufficient bolstering, sufficient comfort, very nice. Gear shift, very nice again. All the Viper gear shifts have surprised me actually, but I think this is the best so far. It actually feels quite solid on the road. The damping is really good. A little bit of bobbing around, but it just cushions it for that last bit of the suspension travel. And it's got plenty of performance. I mean, that was just an easy, lazy overtake in 4th gear. Yeah, this is definitely the most lively feeling so far. I'm really enjoying it actually. I like to get this onto canyon roads, give it a good hurling about. Although I've got a feeling that there's very slim margin for error. It's just there, like a Viper, waiting to bite you. I think we need to get some script writers, because when I'm allowed to just make things up on my own, you get crap cliches like that. Finally, we come to the 5th and final generation of the Dodge Viper, and I have the owner of this beautiful machine here. It's Tony. Now Tony, what I want you to do is tell me why the 5th gen is the best and what's special about your particular car in just 1 minute. You ready?
Go.
Go.
Matt, thank you. So I've had Gen 1 and Gen 2 and the ACR in the Gen 2. This is a Gen 5 ACR. They discontinued it in 2017. This is a 16. The deal here, though, is America finally went truly to the supercar spectrum. They finally refined it, got it there. Look at the car, and it speaks for itself. Okay, it stops people dead. It's an amazing automobile. The downforce is insane. The traction's insane. The feel of the drive is insane, and it's just phenomenal. This particular car is one of 86 in production that they built for 2016, and it's a one of one. So there's none other in this paint scheme, interior, and combination.
And you're going to let me drive it?
I will.
So how much is it worth?
$250.
$250?
Yeah.
So it's a lot more expensive, but you reckon it's worth it?
Worth every penny.
Well, that's your minute, and we're going to find out, because I'm going to launch it and then drive it.
I can't wait.
Let's do it. Final Viper then, the Gen 5, and this is the ACR version. It's got an 8.4 litre naturally aspirated V10 with 650 horsepower and 810 newton meters of torque, driving the rear wheels yet again via a 6-speed manual gearbox. It weighs in at 1,560 kilos and should be able to do 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. And it will do that 60 in 1st gear. Let's do it. Bogged a bit, don't need to change gear, just rev it out. This flies at the top end. 4.61. It was a bit slow off the line trying to launch it that way. I might be a bit more brutal. We've got some huge ass rear tyres, which are standard from factory, some Kumos, which are track tyres. Let's be a bit more aggressive. It's better. 4.24. We get in there. I can see a launch control button on the steering wheel, so I'm going to press that, and it says to launch, quickly apply full throttle and quickly release the clutch. Really? I don't think so. That was interesting. I mean, that was full launch control. I just dumped the clutch, did what it said. It seemed that the traction, because this one has traction control, managed the power, and we did 0 to 60 in 4.39. Do you know what? I'm going to give it one last go. Launch control. 4.29. It's getting quicker, but it's still not as quick as I was when I launched it my little way. To be fair though, I think that if you launch this thing on a better surface with hotter tyres, with the launch control, it will get close to the claimed numbers. All right, the Gen 5, and this feels like a completely different car to the others, yet still very much a Viper. It's such a huge step on in terms of just how solid and more performance orientated it is. The others seem all about the engine, whereas this one seems about the engine combined with the chassis. I don't know what it is, it's just more like a proper performance car. In fact, when you look at the numbers, it's a supercar. You've got adaptive dampers and you can change the settings front and rear. You've got electronics to help you, stability control, as well as traction control and obviously ABS. Loads of different functions you can configure. Still a manual, no auto of a Viper was made, and it's still like brutally raw. But the way the car responds to your steering inputs, your brakes, and just everything is just on another level. It also just feels chunkier and more substantial, like it's built out of stronger stuff. Oh. I mean, it goes like crazy. Oh wow, what a mad car. Just that responsiveness to the steering is really very different to the others. This is the only one that really I would like to take on track and drive in anger. It just seems the more sorted. I mean, you'd expect that as you evolve through the generations, but the change between 4 and 5 is like night and day. The 4 felt like an evolution of the others, whereas this is like a whole different car, but just with some kind of Viper DNA. Here we go. Oh. Oh. And that gear change, it's so beefy. This is a car that gives you muscles when you drive it, because everything just feels so weighty and serious. It's got character and it feels American, and I mean that in a good way. In some ways, even though it seems the more focused and hardcore, it's the one that would be the easiest to live with every day, just because of all the safety systems and because it's quite comfy in here. The seats probably could do with a bit more bolstering, but you know, they're actually quite good without feeling like squidgy armchairs like in the other cars. They fit you just right. Not too firm, not too soft, just right in every area. So then, what's my final verdict? Which is the best generation of Dodge Viper? Well, it's really tough to decide because they all have their own unique character. So I'm going to keep this really simple and dead basic and completely subjective. I'm going to tell you which is my favourite based on the look, and it is the second generation of Dodge Viper because it's the one I remember playing in Gran Turismo on the PlayStation. It is just so iconic, and that's why it wins this test. Anyway, I hope you'll enjoy the video. If you did, give it a like. Let me know which is your favourite Viper in the comments below. Click on those windows there for some more videos, and on that box there to go to Carwow to sell your car the easy way. Just upload some photos, give a brief description, then dealers all across the country will bid on your car. It's easy. Thanks for watching.